Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So here's my question to you. Are you a planner? Are you a promoter? Are you a producer? Are you a peacekeeper? We're going to look into that today, find out what personality you really have, and kind of learn about yourself and how you can use your personality to advance yourself in relationships and work. And she is a certified I think it's real you personality indicator.
It's actually called People Skills Series, but the Real You is the book that Vicki wrote.
Gotcha. And you're also a certified mental health coach and certified Christian life coach. And Cheryl Hines joins us back on the program. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Good to be back.
Yeah,
Thanks, Steve.
we started talking about this last time we got together in terms of different personalities and the personality indicator. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper, but do I have that right? It comes down to 4: the planner, the producer, the peacekeeper, the promoter. Is it really those 4 is like kind of the baseline?
Yes, it is. It's exactly those 4. When Vicki wrote the People Skills Series, she actually has where she compared the People Skills Series to the other personalities that that a lot of people are familiar with. So it's like the disc. So in the disc, the profile system, the yellow promoter would be the one, or the influencing. The planner would be cautious. The promoter would be dominance, and the the steadfast, would be the peacekeeper. So she's taken it and compared it to some of the other personality types that a lot of people are familiar with. From the Trenton Smalley to Larry Crabb to Social Styles. A lot of the Hippocrates, the sanguine is the promoter, the melancholy is the planner, the choleric would be the producer, and the phlegmatic would be the peacekeeper.
Can you be part of all of those? But it really depends on how much you are of each. Because I look at that between all of them, and I would say that I am all of them, but to different degrees.
Yes. So when you take the personality indicator, you with the People Skills Series, you have a number of 1 to 4, and so you might have a question of do you do this, like say procrastinate, and from a number of 1 to 4, how many times would you what's 4 being the most often, 1 being the least amount. And so in that, then you total up all of those, and so you're going to find that you're yourself in all of those at some point or another, but you'll find that there's 1 or 2 of them are more dominant. They're stronger in life. I have a young lady that I coach, and she was like, Cheryl, she said, that's confusing. I had her do this, and she's like, I just feel like I'm 2 different people. And I'm like, you're not. These are the 2 personality strengths that God has given you. And so depending on the day, depends on which of those personalities are at the forefront. So, it's the importance of understanding who we are is helps us in life overall. One of the things that Vicki said is one of the benefits of understanding our personality types is it provides a judgment-free psychological system for explaining normal human behavior, promotes both inner and intrapersonal growth. It explains that there are no good or bad personality types. There are only differences. Removes negative attitudes, highlights obvious differences. Enables us to view objectively actions we might otherwise take personally, and promotes the ability to manage ourselves and others more effectively.
I find it very interesting. And I can see how if you're too much of one over the other, that could be problematic. Because if you're, let's say you are more of a promoter, and there's there's words that are associated with that: fun, charisma, articulate, energizer, spontaneous, relationships. That's all good. But if you're not somebody who's also, let's say, dependable or accurate, as in the planner, you're going to have challenges because you're just going to be, I would think, in the promoter, you're just going to be kind of a zany, crazy, wild kind of person that's, life of the party, but then you're not great with responsibility. You're not great at planning things. And not that you have to be great at it, but you're going to be lacking those skills in your life, and then things are going to fall through the cracks.
Correct. Correct. So understanding that my strength for myself is a planner and I'm a producer. So understanding that, and those, like you said, precise, dependable, steadfast, systematic, cautious, conscientious, that's the planner. That's just 4 of them. The producer is decisive, initiating, forceful, driven, competitive, goal-oriented, authoritative, independent, pragmatic, productive, confident, leader, persuasive, global, and enterprising. Didn't like that. I didn't know that about me. I didn't know that was a personality type. I didn't know that was actually a strength that I had, because I am all of those. And then when you do the planner, it's conscientious, thorough, factual, creative, methodical, dutiful, detailed, perfectionist, analytical, composed, reserved, economical, and realistic. Combining those two is normally, like I said last week, more of a man's world. That's more of a man's personality. And so, understanding that, now I understand why some women are intimidated by me. Some women don't really care for me very much, because I am all of those in one thing, in a nutshell. So understanding that, when I'm around certain women who I know are not and don't understand personality types, I have to soften, not change me, but I have to soften some of those personalities so that I don't intimidate them, but I can encourage them then to come alongside me.
Absolutely. It comes down to, if you, let's say you go to a party, you have to read the room. Who are you dealing with? What type of personalities are there? How do you engage with them so you can make it work? Because right. one size does not fit all.
Right. So if you're a peacekeeper, which is balanced, you're accommodating, you're tolerant, you're patient, you're kind, you're a good listener, you're easygoing and calm, and then somebody like me, who is the opposite of that, comes alongside. Ooh, what's going on with her? Why is she that way? What, what's wrong with her? She's showing off. She's being bossy. She's rubbing me the wrong way, and I don't like her. But if you understand that personality, I can understand that somebody's a peacekeeper. My husband is a peacekeeper. He is calm, he's sympathetic, he's moderate, he's accommodating, he's tolerant, he's patient. So when it comes to my husband, my personality type could really easily dominate him. But understanding that, I soften tremendously who I am, not change me, but I soften who I am so that I don't dominate him, but I partner with him.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I would say 100%. I would say I am many of those peacekeeper qualities. But I'm also, at the same time, I am the producer. I am the planner, not so much the promoter. But the takeaway this is that in the peacekeeper, I'm too much of a peacekeeper, and I know that. So I think that's why this is very beneficial, where you can kind of tweak that, to make it work for you. Because I feel sometimes, there's nothing wrong with being loyal and reflective and all of that, but sometimes I put too much emphasis on taking care of people. And that would be, I think, under the peacekeeper category, where
Uh-huh.
I'm not doing that for myself. It's taking care of everybody else. So I would think I need to pull back a little bit on that and maybe focus more on the producer. But it is very interesting because we all can find ourselves in these four different categories.
We can. The thing I like about how Vicky wrote these personality types is then she didn't say that, this personality, that their weaknesses, but she called them blind spots. So if you look at the planner, the blind spots of a planner would be critical, obsessive, stubborn, I'm rigid, I'm suspicious, like non-risky, I'm excessive, I'm data bound, moody, plodding along, guilt prone, nitpicky, intense, detached, unfriendly, stingy, and unimaginative. Now, if I identify to any of those blind spots, recognizing that that's a potential blind spot in my personality, figuring out how to take that blind spot and turning it over into a strength of my personality, it really, 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 really is life transforming when
Yeah.
you see and identify who you are.
Yep.
It really is. We don't, if we don't know who we really are, or if we know, like, a coworker, and we have a coworker, which I work by myself, so I don't have any coworkers, but we have a coworker and we work by, and that coworker, man, I tell you, that coworker just rubs me the wrong way. Why? Is it one of the personalities? And they're possibly walking in a strength? And because our personality is so opposite of theirs that they rub us the wrong way. Steve, as a peacekeeper, you're accommodating, you're tolerant. I'm precise, I'm dependable, or I'm decisive, I'm initiating, I'm forceful, I'm driven. But you are tolerant, you're patient, you're kind, you're a good listener. So that strength, that producer personality coming alongside of you and working beside you, you could look back and say, you know what, that Cheryl, she is just a little bit too much for me right now. She's a little bit too assertive. She just needs to back off a little bit. But if you understand that personality, then it helps you to understand why I am how I am.
Yeah.
Now, again,
and find a way to work with that person too. There's a way. There's always a way.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them the negative qualities of each of the four. But what peacekeeper, let's go back to that one for a
you do.
sec. Oh, there it is. I got it. I found it. Blind spots. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at some of the ones for the peacekeeper: overwhelmed, lenient, indulgent, pushover, sentimental, complacent, timid, unmotivated, passive. See, I don't think I'm a lot of those, but I believe I'm overly accommodating. And I don't know if, sometimes that's not a good thing, because maybe pushover is it, where you just want to keep everybody happy, everybody, peacekeeper. I would make adjustments in that for me, but then, looking at the planner, just what you were talking about before, there's some things there that I find myself there in the planner, in the blind spots, I see them.
Right. Now, if you look at it, so beside the strengths, let's look at the planner. Precise, then if you go straight across, the blind spot is critical.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you see?
That.
So the opposite of dependable would be obsessive.
And it's interesting because I don't look at it as the opposite. Like, for example, creative in the planner, strength, creative, blind spot, moody. I don't know. Would see the, a connection between the two.
Right. I'm not exactly sure how she
Hmm.
figured that piece out, except that um sometimes that creative juice, that creative energy, that creativity in us can turn very quickly into moodiness. I
Yeah.
know it for me, it can,
Yeah. No, I hear
you
you.
know?
If you can't express yourself and use what's in you, um, it turns into a negative. So I guess the negative could potentially be moody because you're just kind of cranky that you can't do what you feel you should be doing.
Right. For example, my dad, who is 79. Okay, I use the people that are in my lives. My dad, who is 79. Um, he is slowing down. He has been a hard worker. I remember my dad being so strong that he used to carry a picnic table on his back across the yard, that was my dad. And over the years, that strength, that who he identifies to as himself, is gone. And I was talking to him about it today. I said, Dad, just because you can't do what you used to do, and he's creative, so just because you can't do what you used to do doesn't mean that you can't have a new normal. I said, let me show you how to crochet. He said, really? At 79, you think I could crochet? Yeah, Dad, I think you could. Use the creativity that God has given you, and you physically can't do the things that you used to do in the creativity that God has given you. Find a new normal.
Mm-hmm.
Crochet. I said, you can crochet baby blankets and you can donate them to hospitals. There would be a lot of new parents that would love to have baby blankets that were crocheted by a senior citizen for their baby. But he's really struggling with the fact that he can no longer do what he used to do. So let's change it. Let's shift it, and let's learn how to be still creative, but in a different way,
Yeah.
in a new normal.
It
So
is.
that moodiness.
I could see that now. Yeah, because you're frustrated that you can't do what you feel you should be doing for whatever reason. Whatever,
Right.
let's say it's not age. Let's say, you work with a church and you have so many great ideas and they're creative and you feel they're really good and um somebody is stopping you from doing it
Right.
because they're not accepting your ideas or whatever it might be. I could see you get moody. I could see
Yeah.
the frustration in that.
Yeah. Because you feel like you have this God-given gift, this God-given strength, this God-given whatever it is, and
Sure.
you're and they're not embracing it.
Right.
Um, so it could cause you to turn into a moody, woe is me,
Yep.
type of a mindset.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Dejected. And, then you look at the promoter and the strengths are articulate, charismatic, confident, encouraging, persuasive, optimistic. These are just some of them. On the flip side of that, the blind spots would be talkative, superficial, self-doubt, obnoxious, overbearing, childish, unrealistic. I mean, I could see that. And what I do
Yeah.
is like you said, you mentioned people in your life. I'm thinking of people who I feel is the promoter. That's the center of their personality. And I can
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of those that they could be overbearing or perceived to be overbearing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When
Whoops.
you in this people skills program, when you work with people, how does
Steve, I
it
don't know where you
start?
went.
Oh, I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, the camera went off.
Weird.
When you work with people there, do you start with the questionnaire so you can identify what kind of
Yes.
personality they have?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't have it with me, but it's an indicator. Vicky calls it an indicator. And so there's a series of questions or a series of one words, or like one word, or there's another part of the indicator that asks, how often do you procrastinate? I mean, I don't know if that's part of that, but how often do you, and then it's from 1 to 4 that you answer it. So all the way across, you have 4 different spots and you can only use the number 1 through 4 one time. And then you go down to the next word, and then you use the number 1 through 4. So then at the bottom, you total it all up. And then whatever has the highest number in that column then would then reflect whether you're a promoter, planner, producer, or a peacekeeper.
Gotcha.
And so oftentimes it's really very, very, sometimes it's really, really close to 2 of them. And like I said, so depending on the day, depending on what you're doing, it depends on what comes out. So I have another young lady that I'm a good friend with. She's a promoter. She is hilarious. She can be, I tell her all the time, she could be a stand-up comedian. It's that fun, friendly, personality that comes out in the promoter. But then she's also a producer. She's that take charge. She sees something needs to be done. Let's take charge. Let's get it done. And so she has conflict in that promoter and in that producer at times, in understanding how those 2 can fit together in her as a person and how God made her. So she struggles with, well, why doesn't everybody see that this needs to be done? Why doesn't everybody just step in and do this? Well, not everybody has that strength. Not everybody has that ability to see what needs to be done, and then you just do it. So understanding how different personalities that God has given us can then learning that, identifying in that, and then understanding that both of those can work together, and they can work together very well if we understand how they work. It's huge. It was life-changing for me. When I was introduced to this personality, it was life-changing. It really, really was life-changing.
I'm even seeing some of these words here that I haven't heard in a long time. But when you think of somebody who could be a producer, they could also be, and there's great things here: decisive, initiating, forceful, driven, competitive. But then on the flip side, they could come off being abrasive, controlling, a dictator, egotistical, all of those. And you might not even notice that in yourself, that you're projecting that.
Right. But if I understand that as a producer, that those potential blind spots in me are opinionated, controlling, abrasive, or impatient. I, as a leader of our Celebrate Recovery ministry, if something good happens, I hear about it. If something bad happens, I hear about it. I'm the leader over the team. I'm the leader over, and I don't like to be called the leader. I just like to be called, I just want to be known as,
how about the facilitator?
The facilitator, yes.
Yeah, because I get you on the leader, and maybe it's also because you don't want to be perceived as, I'm taking charge. But then at the other side of it, for me, I would look at that as being the leader, or perceived to be, comes with great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we don't feel comfortable with that.
I'm okay with the responsibility that comes with it. But see, my personality, that controlling personality, man, I could very easily tell the team, hey, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. And this is why we're going to do it. And we're going to do it because I said so. If I allowed that controlling part of my personality to come out. So when we have our team meetings, we have team meetings once a month. Yeah, I do the agenda, but we have a roundtable discussion. And we bounce things off of each other. And I tell them all the time, I can't do this ministry. I need everybody to do this ministry. Now, but I have to be driven. So that's part of the producer part of me, in order to make sure that what we talk about is what needs to be talked about. I couldn't be a peacekeeper, right, where I sit back and I just accommodate everybody, or I just am easygoing. Sometimes I wish I could be that way. I do. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to be a peacekeeper. Daggone it. God didn't make me that way.
Well, that's why this is so beneficial, because you can take pieces from each and realize your strengths, or I don't want to say faults, but your traits that you have, more of this, more of that. Yeah. And then kind of like blend it, kind of adjust it a little bit, and then maybe correct it to what you want it to be. I think it's super cool. I know we hit it last time briefly, but I didn't know it went that deep, and it's very easy to understand. And I'm sure the questions in short time would get you there. We're out of time, but if somebody wants to learn more about this with you, working with you, they would just reach out to you. You can walk them through this whole thing.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm trained in it. I still have to use my cheat sheets, and I would rather do that than say I know it all, because I don't. But yeah, I absolutely can work with them and help them unpack who they are and their personalities, and just their how God has made each of them. And then what the beautiful thing is, Steve, is helping them understand, like we've talked about coworkers, how does this how does it apply to coworkers? When you understand that personality, it really is amazing. So yes, all they have to do is reach out to me, and I'd be happy to work with them.
Yeah, yes. Even companies, even corporations should be doing this, so you better understand. Like, I'm thinking, a company with a sales team, to understand the people that they work with, but maybe even understand a client. Let's say you're talking with a client and you identify some of those things, and maybe you have to adapt to what their blind spots, right, and what their strengths are at the same time. What's up? What's your website?
I'll give you my website, and then I'll just throw this out at you. So my website is insightlifecoaching.coachsolutions.cc, insightlifecoaching.coachsolutions.cc, and I can also be reached at 574-501-3361. That's 574-501-3361. I'll just come out and do a personality class with all of you guys. How's that, Steve?
I'm scared. I'm gonna learn too much about me and everybody else, but it's a good thing, because it's all about relationships. So yeah, you're welcome anytime. That's right. And I think we should do that meeting in the Bahamas. That's just me. I'm just, I'd be happy to be a peacekeeper in the Bahamas. No problem with that. Or anywhere. There you
go.
Yeah. All right, Cheryl. Right. All great. Always great talking with you. And, from a peacekeeper to a producer, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. One more thing, Steve.
Sure.
Just so you know, they have extended my time from the 31st of January to the 7th of March. So I can continue to do podcasts for another month.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Love it. Yeah.
So my listeners that are following me, just so they know that I'm going to continue to do podcasts for a while.
That's great. So. Yeah. And there's lots to talk about. And I'm glad we talked about this today for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll talk soon.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.